So guys, I wanted to talk about today how to transition in a sale. So there's different ways to transition. Like say we're transitioning from, a full sale to a partial, or even a partial to a full sale, and then transitioning between like maybe green sky to synchrony, because it's really important to have a lot of confidence and be very assumptive when transitioning between this to that. Because if you don't do it the right way, you could very well lose the sale, like extremely easy. So, say for example, to transition from a full house. Excuse me, someone just wants a partial to wanting a full house. What are some ways? Who wants to give us what they do if they go in and someone only wants to do part of the house, but how do you get them a quote on the full house? Chris.
Well, the first thing I do, I always tell them, like, when I'm measuring, I'm like, hey, let me measure the whole house, right? Because it's gonna be the easiest way. So I'll give you a full quote of the whole thing, and then I can also work out specific packages that works for you guys directly. But the first thing I always show them is the full house, because after they actually see the price, most of the time, like, oh, that's not that bad. And then if it's too much for some reason, then we can always negotiate down to less windows. But every single time, I always give them the full house. I never start with the partial and then work up. I always give them the highest number I can, because then after that, it's always less, right? You never want to start with top.
Yeah. And I think it's important for both ways. Obviously, you never hit partial originally if they're not asking for it. Like that's at the back end if they say they can't afford the thing.
Can you hear?
But I on the same word track of building up the value of getting grandfathered in as an advertising home and having 3 years at that same discount. So on the front end, if they're wanting just a partial, like, okay, great, I'd love to look over some options for that with you guys, but I'm going to measure everything, because what we'll actually do for you is, even if we can only do our minimum partial to be an advertising home, you'll be grandfathered in. You'll have 3 years to get any other windows done. And so I want to get measurements on everything, so I've got them in my system. I think it's super easy for you down the road when you're ready to do the rest, because even if we get this front side, you're going to want the rest as soon as we get them installed. And so use the grandfathered in. Let's get them in the system when we get my measurements. And then same thing, present both options. Here's the full, here's the partial. And Grant Cardone always says you want to give them 2 options. Same thing with setting an appointment, 2 option close.
Yeah. And then something that's really important to really solidify that in their head as you're transitioning from a partial to a full replacement is pain points. So ensuring that they're going around the house with you, and you're addressing pain points that they otherwise might not have noticed or weren't concerned with just the windows they wanted to do. Because they're like, well, I know these windows are bad, but maybe they haven't checked the north side or the south side or the west side. They just know that these east side windows are bad, which typically it's going to be south or west windows will be the worst, because those are what gets the most sun, right? But who knows? The east side's going to get a lot, and then typically, it's just like anything. If one's bad, they're all the same age window. If you guys have a bad, there's probably more than you thought that were bad, and even if ones are still in decent shape, they're probably not going to hold up much longer.
Especially if you can point out like early signs of the same issue they're having worse on the sunny side. Like, hey, you've already got seal failure happening here. Obviously, it's not as fast, and build up that. I always use the analogy of like cars and stuff. Like, if your engine starts going bad and you have one cylinder that starts failing, usually the rest are not too long behind. You're not just going to swap out one head gasket. You're going to swap both sides.
And there's like information on Google if you guys that are newer that haven't really dealt with Windows before, just to like see different problems with Windows, right? So when you encounter that stuff, right, because their window to the naked eye, they might not even realize, right? But if there's a bunch of dust inside their window, right? I mean, there's stuff coming in there.
Yep.
Right. There's dirt.
Crack between the frame and drywall.
Yep. Seal failure.
Frames getting loose. Bad tolerancing, cheaper windows.
Hot settles.
So I know we got Obadiah on the call. Obi, how do you go about that?
It just kind of depends. It's all a case by case basis. Sometimes there are people just super adamant about just getting the certain amount of windows, you know what I mean? If that's what they set up with the coordinator, I always talk to them about the point of getting all of them done. But same thing that happens with Andres when you do the whole bid. When you do a small bid and they're like, holy shit, it's actually that less. Like, okay, let's do more. And then I'll go around and be like, all right. But I try to like frame it away like, hey, let's do the whole front side, or let's do the back side. Let's not spot because it just looks stupid. Because it does, but at the same time, it gives me the ability to just keep going around and measuring so that I can get the rest of them. I try to do the whole house first and then say, hey, let's get down to a package. But if they're just a bull and they're super on the fact they're only doing 6 windows, okay, I understand that. You know, it may be something that's going to work out for you. Maybe that's the best option, but you'd be surprised at how low this is going to cost you. And then we move forward. Other times, like if they're a little more lenient, more pliable, I should say, then I'll kind of give them just a basic rundown. Hey, look, if you're looking at 6 windows, you're probably looking at a payment like this, finance-wise. It's a really low payment. Why don't we up that? What can you afford? That kind of thing. It just kind of depends on who I'm talking to and what I got going on.
Yeah. But I think as just some basic points, something that I use a lot, it's like, you know, we always get all the measurements for the home. That way it keeps my installers organized. And then you guys might be surprised how low we can do it for. And usually that's the best benefit for you guys, especially with energy efficient wise. Usually if some of your windows bad, you'd be surprised like the rest of them are usually in pretty bad shape too. So we'll just get measurements on everything, but we'll be able to go over some options with you guys for sure. So that's kind of how I do it. So I'm always getting it. And I'm very, very assumptive. You notice I'm just like, I kind of tell them what I'm going to do, you know, and then we just start doing it. And then I start pointing out pain points.
And another really reasonable like explanation, if they're like, hey, we definitely don't want to do this window. Like, yeah, I do want to get it on my field work order so I can cross it off so they know we're choosing not to do it and I didn't miss it. So
exactly.
There are a lot of sensible, reasonable reasons why we need to get measurements on everything. I just posted a link to a recording in Zero to the director's chat there. My last sale out in Bullhead, the APM on Friday, James sat in with me on it. He recorded it, and he said it was like the cleanest transition from a hard no on the full into a partial sale, doing all the windows that he had seen, and it worked out really well for them. We did all 8 windows, just took the 2 doors off. So I just posted that recording for you guys.
Sweet. Is it so it's the full?
It's the full. Yeah, it's the full recording. It's full sale. You can skip forward it, but yeah, we got the whole thing on there.
Sweet. So yeah, that's the next thing I want to address. So why don't you just kind of paraphrase that a little bit, and kind of give us a rundown on how you did that.
Yeah. So never lead off with a partial. Never even talk about the partial until get to pricing. Show them the whole house, and they were pretty quick on trying to backpedal. Like, well, so how long do we have to talk about it? And reaffirming, hey, we talked about this at the beginning. Got to have an answer right now. We got to figure out, And one thing I say a bunch is whatever decision you guys make, I want it to be something you're happy with, you're excited about. I want you doing something that you're comfortable with. But I know this is the best option for you guys. And they're still, balking over price, bringing up their daughter's upcoming wedding and things. And then rather than making it into oh, that's a bummer. Well, we could maybe still get you some of them, if you really want to, if you guys really like this, turning it into a really positive thing. Hey, actually, the best way I'm able to be flexible with you guys and the best thing I can do to really fit this into any of my customers' budgets, it's flat pricing for all of my advertising homes. Our discounts is flat pricing. Everybody pays the same. But I don't need to do every window in your house all at once for you guys to be my advertising home. Actually, all I need, the whole front side of the house and at least 6 windows to send my guys out on a full day free install. But I would love to real quickly put together some partial options for you guys. And actually what we do with that is we're going to grandfather you guys in to get the rest of them done at that same discount. I can lock you guys in as the advertising home. Because if we do that front side and our signs and run that whole campaign off of it, we've already gotten 100% of our advertising value. And so as a thank you and to give you that option, we grandfather you in for up to 3 years. You get that same discount, if and when you guys are ready to get these doors done here. That's the best thing I can do. And then, the assumptive, and feel good about it. And that's why a lot of people I work with is advertising homes and doing partial. You know, it's a timing thing. I'm looking to find people. Party. Yeah, get the third party. It's a matter of timing. We're finding people, like I said at the beginning, you know, we're looking for folks like yourselves who know they want to get their windows done, know they need to, and I just want to see if we can get them done a little bit sooner for you than maybe you had thought. And this way we can get it taken care of for you. You can get locked in at the discount and just never make it into a, oh, that's a big bummer. Maybe we can do a partial for you. It's that actually this is a really perfect option for your situation. Here are all these tons of benefits about it. This is awesome. And like I said, like they went, you know, chatted for like 5 or 10 minutes in the bedroom, but they were super stoked on it.
Yep. Perfect.
I have a question. What means advertising?
So that's what, yeah. We three here, we are the directors for the knocking team, the coordinators, the advertising homes that we set up to generate retail sales, retail leads, and quotes for you guys. So it would be a little bit different of a word track for you guys, but you can also use the exact same idea of getting them in at a lower price, because with inflation and costs only going up, you know, hey, if we can at least get some taken care of for you guys now, it's going to protect you from that inflation, and we can get these trouble windows taken care of for you.
And then we can still use the same thing and say we can then that way we can honor your discount for additional 3 years. Yeah. So you guys can get this done in phases if you need to. But yeah, let me give you the numbers on what a partial looks like. So.
Well, and something I've used for a transition, not that I've sold windows, but I'll say to them, hey, why don't we do this? I don't mind.
Yeah.
Then it kind of rolls over to, I'm doing them a favor, but I'm taking that pressure down.
Yep.
What do we got from y'all?
Yo, Jared, we can hardly hear you, bro.
Yeah, you're kind of breaking up.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's because everybody's so far away from your device.
Here, the device is closer now.
Hey, you sound a little better.
Did you guys hear McKay?
I heard McKay. Yeah, I heard it. Honestly,
Yeah,
I do a lot of what McKay does. So when it comes to it, from what I've noticed, the people who do partials, they want to do the full home. It's just they can't afford it at the time, or they just can't seem to make a decision to do it at the time. But a lot of deals that I've closed, they've actually added windows a couple of days later, a week later. I just build that value up for the whole home while I'm there, but still making them feel comfortable with their decision. Just like McKay said, like he wants them to feel comfortable with the decision they make. And I do the same thing. Like I want you guys to feel comfortable at the end of the day. I don't want you to be overwhelmed with your decision that you're making today. So I noticed, but I'm still building the value with the full home. Like this is what you're going to get with a full home. And then, you know, partial obviously is a great option, but the best bang for your buck is going to do the full house. But still making them feel comfortable with a partial decision, knowing that at the end of the day, when I leave, they're going to be talking about, should we have done more? Because we probably could have done more. And then they usually call and then we add some windows in.
Then you got $10,000 deals turn into $31,000 deals.
That's right.
Exactly. Or 108 turned into 142 into 150.
Exactly.
How many windows is that deal?
56.
Good grief.
That's crazy.
56
Dog.
Oh yeah.
Using
specialties.
Plus, I think it's important that, like, if you're gonna do that, right, run the financing for the full home, like,
Oh yeah.
right, because then you're like, well, hey, you know, just let you guys know they actually approved you for this amount. So, you know, if not now, in the future, you guys want to take advantage of more windows, we can just add it right onto the loan.
So, and that brings me to another thing, another transitional aspect. So you got them sold on the whole home, right? Now we get to financing, and house is 25,000. We can only finance them for 15,000. What are we doing then?
Well, we actually have another financing company that we go through as well. So, you know, we'd really like to get you taken care of on the whole home. So let's go ahead and get you ran through the other financing. They're actually a little bit more lenient than this one. And then that way we can get the whole home going for you.
Or just run the spouse in the same financing.
Yeah.
Or run the spouse. So for that, and those who know, in the beginning of my directorship, I had a lot of trouble with that. I actually lost a couple of deals because of that, because I just didn't know how to transition into, oh, we could run synchrony. It made me nervous in the beginning. But now it's more of a like, oh, great, you guys got qualified for 15. You know, no, this happens all the time, guys. Now what we can do is we can run your credit through Synchrony and we can qualify you for the rest. It's not a big deal. Like I said, we see this all the time. Just makes them feel a little bit more comfortable when you're pushing it that way instead of like before I was.
Same thing, third party. Yeah, we do this all the time. This happens a lot. And yeah, got two options for you. Third party, credibility, and two option. Either we could go through Synchrony again for your spouse and split between both you guys, or if you want to keep it all under your name, I can run it through our other lender, Green Sky. They've got some same, they got a lot of great options, the same sort of thing. But again, it's not a problem. It's great. That's normal. It actually happens all the time. Do this for customers all the time.
Yeah. I like to congratulate them for what they did qualify for. Like, good job. Congratulations. You guys got qualified for 15,000. We need 25. So now we got to go over here and get the rest of it. Not a big deal.
Use full home income on both of them.
Yep. So yeah, I'm not sure. I think I might have been the first person in the company to put two loans together. I mean, it's kind of Synchrony for a deal to get done. I'm not sure. It was a long time ago, but it was if I wasn't the first one to do it, the important thing is the first time I had done it or heard of anyone doing it in the company, same thing that McKay's referring to. I acted as though I've done it all the time. Oh yeah, this is what we do in this situation. It's worked out. We just put two loans together, get the problem taken care of for you guys. Payment's going to be similar to what I told you it was anyway for the full house. It's just that you're going to make two payments instead of one. So let's go ahead and run it through Synchrony. This is what I need.
And I had one a couple of weeks ago, last month, where ran it through Green Sky, only approved them for like 13K, and we needed 22, and then ran it through Synchrony to split it between the two, and they approved them for 25,000. So we ended up doing the whole thing through Synchrony. Right. And they were pretty more excited about that, like not having to split it up. But
yeah,
just through one person. I did the
just the one.
With Green Sky and Synchrony.
Yeah, they were one they specifically wanted. Their wife had good credit.
Yep.
And I worded it how you taught my paying job.
So now before we go to that extent though, it's important to contact reach out to the lender, request a credit line increase first and foremost. And then you can consider doing the spouse as like a co-applicant if the spouse has good credit.
Yeah.
If the spouse doesn't have good credit, it might just like flag the whole thing and they actually, so for example, we had a deal. It was initially a credit check because it was ran initially as co-applicants. And then 7 days later, Synchrony sent them the reason why they didn't qualify for the loan. And it was because one of them's credit was so bad. Mm-hmm. So what we did was take that person off the loan as a co-applicant and then qualify.
Yeah, and I think that's why you should always run one person.
Yeah,
always one person.
Always
right?
run
and
one.
Then if they get approved for half, great. Let's try. How's your credit? Don't be scared to ask people how their credit is, man. People are pretty open with that stuff.
Exactly.
So
yeah,
they really are. So.
But yeah, and that's something that's important. I always look to run one. Yeah, we just whoever you guys feel like has best chances for approval, we'll just run one. But yeah, then from there, look to do a credit line increase. From there, look to do co-applicants if it makes sense. From there, then you would look to do multiple loans. From there, and maybe I can make like a little tree thing for this. From there, then you're looking to then transition into a partial.
Well, I think before you do a partial, Jared, what I've done is I've asked for cash.
Cash, exactly.
Right, cash, credit card. Like, look, guys, we got you approved for this much. All I would need down is $2,000. We can get the ball rolling, right? And then just same thing, like it happens to everybody. And I've seen myself and even Ovi, a lot of deals are like half partial, half cash, right? Half financing.
I'm glad you brought that up. That's absolutely right. Before you go to a partial, then you start pushing cash because you'd be surprised what you guys both had that happen.
Yep.
Right. And then you transition to a partial.
Yep.
So, and then how would you guys do a word track to say if all else fails, we can't get the approval for the financing? How do you transition to a partial then?
So again,
same thing.
A lot of value about the 3 years, adding things on and pairing it. If they want the full house, but they can't get approved for it, they don't have the cash. Pairing that with the revolving credit through Synchrony and Green Sky of this actually works out really well because we're going to honor your discount for the next 3 years. And as you get that loan paid down, we're actually able to add the other projects back onto it and use that revolving line of credit to use this 15,000 to cover the whole 25, as we get it paid off over the next few years. So
Plus, they might actually, reach out to them in a year. They might give you a credit line increase because you've been making your payments on time, right? And
yeah, as you're making these payments, your credit's going to go up. We can ask for a credit line increase. A lot of times they'll offer it. Yeah. Again, a lot of value out of that option with between Green Sky and Synchrony. I wanted to ask though,
does Obi take that one in parallel?
Getting credit line increase.
Yes, kids.
I've never had Green Sky be able to do it and get back to me faster than a few days.
Take from him.
In the last couple of months, Synchrony hasn't given any credit line increases when I've asked for them.
So
we can only get you, this is what they've got.
So I actually just, so we ran it through Green Sky. It was my $40,000 self-gen that I got on Bullhead.
Yeah.
Only 3,500 Green Sky, they wouldn't do it.
Yep.
So then I got them to run through Synchrony. They only did $5,000. Called Synchrony and he's like, you know what? They actually were able to approve him for 10,000.
So we have
Synchrony. Yeah, so we did get Synchrony to do it, and then they were able to do the rest.
Cool. So, yeah, because just in the last few months, up in Boise and here, every time I've called into Synchrony, it's been but we have been getting some come through.
I've had Synchrony freaking twice in a row approve over 10,000 more on a credit line increase. Now
it used to happen like every time.
Now this was 2.5 years ago.
Exactly. Yeah. 2 years ago, a year ago, every time I called in.
It's a little different these days. Yeah.
But they are still doing it sometimes. That's good to know. So it is not a waste of time. Because after like 2 months of not getting any approved, I didn't waste time with it. Hey, let's cash from the spouse, Green Sky. Like I just go straight to those three because 10-15 minutes of being back and forth on the phone, putting in numbers.
And when you guys are doing you don't do like a pre-approval, right? Unless
Oh, Bridge, he's on the ball, baby.
Pre-qualifies like a last stage Hail Mary effort up there. Well, we want to, I don't think it'd be worth running it. I don't think it'd be worth checking it. I know they've got bad credit. Like I'll try to
Let's do a pre-qualify on Green Sky.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't done that either, but I was just wondering what your experience was on that.
Yeah, it's not something because again, Green Sky is harder to get approved for than Synchrony anyway. So last thing you want to do is do that at the beginning and then they don't get pre-qualified, but they probably would have gotten qualified through Synchrony, but you just shot yourself in the foot.
Yeah. And that's something, guys, that like I lead with Green Sky because the payment plans are so good.
Right.
However, if I get any inkling that their credit might not be like on par with Green Sky, then you just ask a couple questions about, how the credit is or whatever. And there's plenty that I just lead straight with Synchrony because I feel like it's gonna have a better.
Because then you don't want to be like, 6.99, right? But then it's like, Synchrony 9.
So as I'm writing up the quote, what I do, I'm always asking people like, hey, we have a couple of different, customizable loan options. What's your credit looking like? And most of the time, I'm like, it's fucking fantastic. It's 750. Like people are pretty aware. Or sometimes if they say like, I don't know, you know what I mean? Like I'm not sure or whatever, then that's when I usually use Synchrony.
Okay.
Because if people have good credit, they know they have over 700, they have 800. But if they don't know, then I go straight to Synchrony. So I don't have to go from 6.9 to 9.9. Because I think that's a lot harder than increasing, 10 or 20 bucks on a payment. People see that interest rate and they go like, oh, what the fuck? That's a big difference, Sure. So that's usually what I do, and it works pretty good. I haven't gotten much credit fails in a while.
Okay.
Yeah, I like that, Andres. Did you guys hear him?
I heard it.
So he's basically just saying that while he's working up the quote, he just kind of talks a little bit about the financing options and just, how's your guys' credit? And if they give like, hey, it's stellar, because they're gonna know.
Yeah.
If they have good credit, they're gonna know, and they're gonna claim it,
or something like I
Or
don't
like
know, more that they're on the lines of more bad
if
credit.
it's not like a gung ho, I got great credit, then just leave with Synchrony.
That's great.
Cool. Well, guys, we're right at the 30-minute mark. Well, actually, it started 5 minutes late, but I want to keep these to getting off at 10:30 as close as possible. I felt like we got a lot of good value out of it. Is there any questions you guys have? Anything we wanted to address before we jump off the call?
Cool. Good job, bro.
Cool. Well, I really appreciate you.
Just to add that I think that the general pattern that we've hit is really what works, and that is to be aware of the situation before it happens, so that by the time something unfolds, you're ready to roll forward with a solution. My last would-be credit fail, I didn't have to run his credit because we already knew by the time I got there that what his credit score was, and I knew he wasn't going to qualify either way.
Yeah.
So I didn't have to ding his credit, but we knew. It's just the same as asking those questions before you go in and run credit, or
you don't always know, Joe. You might be surprised.
Yeah, I would always try to, because if their credit's bad, what's a ding on their credit? That is the least thing that impacts your credit score.
Yeah, it's 2 to 3 points for 1 month, and then the next cycle it's off.
Right.
At the very least, you got that, Hail
Which is below 500.
So
unless they got cash, then great.
I wondered what that silence was after I said that. Dude, guys, below 500, would you run it?
Yeah, we do miss you.
But yeah, you'd be surprised because sometimes they're
Really
is viewed better than what they think it is, and they really lean into that. So,
or maybe they're looking at one credit bureau and another one has them rated higher.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
yeah, it's always worth a shot.
Until you know.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
On the subprime option through Synchrony.
So it's
Still in the works.
it's still in the works, but it's looking like we found it's called something Sun or something. I don't know. They do a lot of solar. They're really reputable. And yeah, they have a subprime option to where they have similar plans to what we offer with Green Sky, and they don't have a 0% option, unfortunately. However, they have some good plans to offer, and then what happens if it doesn't qualify, then it'll transition to like I forgot what it was, but transition to like a different offer.
Yep.
And then that offer will have a different set of percentage rates and also contract maximums. So like the max we can do on a subprime is 22,000, but depending if they want a lower interest rate on that subprime loan, then it can drop down to like 15,000 or whatever. So it's something that we'd have to play with and obviously do some trainings and some scenario type training so we could be ready for it. But yeah, it looks good to go. So they're just finalizing the details with it.
Yeah, that was one of the coolest things from that Synchrony meeting was find out about that and get that lined up.
Yeah. So it's with a different company. It kind of actually rubbed Jeff a little wrong that they'd never had offered that to us.
Oh yeah, I mentioned it.
Kind of pissed him off. But yeah, so we're everything's in line. They can do the stage funding, everything we need. The biggest difference is there's just no 0% plan. So if that's something that like you're really leaning in on,
I really feel like with people, especially if their credit's not subpar, the 0% is not as big of an issue to them.
Yeah.
I mean, it just,
I told you 500.
You could pay.
But would you rather?
I want to use Green Sky.
when I'm pushing 0%
One
finance,
where you don't pull the credit.
prices about
Yeah,
You
like,
do?
we could do this whole thing.
No, I just like 500. There's no way.
No, but that's right. Just to make sure.
That's the only time I've ever.
Yeah, that's right.
I think we looked it up and
Is that the same? It's
multiple too. I think we did Experian and
It's not going to be for Synchrony.
No.
the other one, I forget.
the one that Synchrony follows up with afterward. They're like,
Yeah,
hey, you got
no,
this
it's completely
qualified.
different.
We're gonna offer this.
I think it's all in-house with that Sun.
Okay.
whatever it is. Yeah.
So we'll be a third new credit check.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
sweet.
Cool beans.
All right.
All right, guys.
Have a good day. St. George, crush it.
That means I love you.
All right, boys. Love you so much.
Love you guys.